when I came to Oregon in late June, there was a lot of snow on the mountain. I met two other hikers, Tom and Jesse, on the trail. We decided to hike together as a team. Reading from Facebook post of a few hikers that hiked through this area a few days ago, we knew there were a few very steep snow slopes that was dangerous. Tom was a retired park ranger and Jesse was a restaurant manager. All three of us are very experienced hikers. Tom actually hiked more than half of the PCT in the 1980s. Together, we crossed many difficult and dangerous snow slopes in southern Oregon and central Oregon. As you can see in this picture, the view in Oregon is quite different than the view in Southern California. The snow on the mountain makes it difficult to hike, but at the same time, the snow also makes the mountain so majestic. Hiking on the snow mountain is difficult, exhausting, dangerous, but it is also very rewarding because the views is so fantastic. This picture was taken when I was standing on the foothill of Three Sisters Mountain. In front of me were 5 mountains that we had to hike across. From the left to the right, the 5 mountains are Mount Washington, Three Finger Jack, Mount Jefferson, Mount Hood, and Mount Adams. And behind me, there were 4 mountains we just hiked across. The views in the Three Sisters Mountain area is incredible. This is one of the areas I may go back and hike again. After we walked across Mountain Jefferson, the snow was mostly melted. Tom and Jesse both had injuries and they could only hike about 20 miles a day, the max. But I wanted to hike 25 miles a day so that I can finish the hike in early October. It was very sad to say goodbye to Tom and Jesse because we had so much fun together. Just before Mount Hood, I started to hike alone again. Northern Oregon at that time is snow-free, very easy to hike, and it was beautiful. I started hiking in Washington in late July. Washington was my favorite section on the PCT. It was very remote. The mountains are absolutely gorgeous. There was a lot of berries and a lot of bears too. This picture was taken in the Goat Rock Wilderness area. I want to talk a little bit about this area because this is probably one of my favorite areas on the entire PCT. The snow mountain on the top left is the famous Mount Rainier. There was a mountain range in the middle right section on this picture. If you look carefully, you probably can see a trail running through the ridge of this mountain. That section of the trail is called Knife Edge. It is very steep, very narrow, sometimes scary if it's windy. This area is so incredibly beautiful. I was happy all day there. When I came to this top, I was so excited. I was, wow, it was so incredible. And I was so jubilant, I almost shot out. That is why I love this hike. That is why I come to hike PCT. Washington in the summer was very wet, and especially in July, August. The mountain slopes were very vibrant and very green and full of flowers. Sometimes I just want to sit there and soak in the astonishing view of the nature. The mountain in this picture is Mount Adams. It's such a joy to hike the trails that are above the tree lines. Wide open views with endless beautiful mountains extending far, far away in the horizon. One day, I was hiking on the trail, and I noticed there was self-signal on my phone. So I checked the PCT group to see if there's any update on the trail. There was an announcement that a young Chinese lady whom I met earlier in Southern California has drowned in a river in the Sierra. Her name was Wang Taocui. Her trail name was Tree. She was a very lovely, sweet young lady full of passion for outdoor adventures, and she always wanted to help others. Hiking alone in the mountain, I was shocked by this news because just a few weeks ago, she sent a text message to me and asked me where I was on the trail. And suddenly, this young, beautiful life was taken away by the nature she loved. I never thought about death on the trail, but the death of Tree hit me very hard. That I kept thinking how sad my family would be if I died on the trail. I became so emotional that I just wanted to go home and hug my wife and my 2 kids and tell them I don't want to go climbing mountains, taking risks anymore. After a while, I calmed myself down and I started to reassess the risk on the PCT. I realized that Tree had made 2 mistakes. First, she should have skipped the Sierra like I did and hiked somewhere else. Second, she should not cross the Raging River by herself. After reassessing the risk, I believe I had enough outdoor experience to reduce the risk to a minimum. I loved the hike and I decided to continue. But I told myself I would be extra careful and not taking any unnecessary risks. This year, there are 6 people died, 1 person missing on PCT. The first person died when he fell on an icy slope. The second person died when he suffered a heat stroke in the desert. The third person was a young lady from Japan. Her trail name was Strawberry. She was drowned in a river in the Sierra when he tried to cross the river by herself. The 4th person was Tree, also drowned but in a different river in the Sierra. She also tried to cross the river by herself. There were 2 more people died when they fell on a steep slope in Oregon. So the question is PCT too dangerous? My answer is no, generally not, if you are careful. The problem is not that the PCT is too dangerous. The problem is sometimes we take unnecessary risks. Both Strawberry and Tree took the risk they should not take by crossing those raging rivers on their own. When we hike outdoors, risk awareness is very important. If you like berries, you will love to hike Washington in August. On some section on the trail, berries are everywhere. They're almost like the whole slope are full of berries. They are very delicious and they add extra joy to the hike. Most people who hike PCT will see bears on the trail. One day I was hiking in northern Washington, and suddenly I saw a bear right on the trail in front of me. I took out my phone and took a video of this bear. So let's take a look. You can see the bear on the top, right on the trail.
Is that a baby?
No,
It doesn't look very big.
yeah,
Wait, how big?
well, this bear apparently was not very afraid of me. It was eating something and doesn't care if I, call him or ask him to go away. But eventually, the bear turned around and left. Bears are curious, cute animals. Even though most black bears, they are stronger and faster than humans, they are actually very afraid of humans. I've seen black bears in Arizona and Colorado. More than half of the time, the bears will run away as soon as they see people. So I'm not afraid of bear during the day, but it is totally a different story at night. I have heard many stories that the bear come to the campsite and they will circle around the tent. Sometimes the bear try to get into the tent, but most of the time the bear just circle around the tent because they smell food inside the tent. They don't want to go away, but they also afraid of person in the tent. They dare not to get too close, so they just move around, circle around the tent, try to figure out how to get the food. In this situation, the hiker has to get out of the tent, chasing the bear away in the middle of the night. Sometimes the bear will come back, and so the hikers has to do this a couple of times to chase the bear away. And I even heard a story that some bear will come back again for the whole night. After hearing those stories, I decided to get prepared. So every time I camp alone in the woods, I always put a few rocks next to my tent. And I also lay my hiking post next to my tent. So if the bear come at night, I can get out and throw rocks to the bear and chase them away. Or if the bear is too aggressive, I can use my hiking post to defend myself. But you know what? The bear never come to my tent at night. Well, I don't have a story about me fighting the bear to tell you. After I finished hiking Washington, I came back to the Sierra to finish the section I skipped. By then, the snow was mostly melted and rivers were all easy to cross. The Sierra section of the PCT is the most physically demanding section. There are many high passes. The elevation of those passes are shown. One example here is a pass. I believe this one is the Mule Pass. There are many passes that we have to hike over, drop down to low elevation and climb another one, and again. The height of the pass is about 12,000 to 13,000 feet. That's why this section, the views are incredible. They are totally different than other sections on the PCT.